Anyway, we're back. Hi, everybody. GameHounds podcast. Yes, we are starting the show. Nick and Andrew are geeking out about anime, and I'm trying to get them to stop. So we'll be starting the show in a minute now.
Anime.
We never
Woo.
geeks.
Don't forget to like this stream, subscribe, hit the notification tab. All right. So yeah, here's where to find us if you aren't already finding us, or tell other people where to find us. So while you geek out, go ahead and geek out about anime, and I need to set up the audio part of the show.
Now I'm just trying to figure out how to find conversations on Discord.
Can you, Andrew, can you convey the Discord information? We now have a Discord server.
Yes.
That we use.
Yes, it's actually getting plenty of use. So I don't know the exact link, but I do know that you threw the link up on the Facebook channel. So if you want to join the Discord, if you just go to the GameHounds at Facebook, you will be able to see, I think, did you put in like the description, or was it just a post, Edie?
It was a post. So
Okay.
it's actually, you just hit the post and it'll take you to the link. But yes, we do have a link, a Discord server. It is working beautifully.
Anyway, I do believe... Oh, I can't comment. I can only comment in the private chat, not the public chat.
At some point, Edie, if the next time you get the chance, if you throw that link into the description, it might be easier than getting drowned out by posts like from Pissboy and anything else.
Yep.
That way they can just find it. Yeah. Oh,
in fact, AC Wraith is probably provided the link. Yep. There you go. Thank you.
You click on that.
We got people for that. I don't have to post links. We got people for
that. Currently, it's just a place where we kind of chill if you just want to chat. I mean, that's what it's for right now. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not savvy in all the things Discord can do. I know there are a ton of bots out there that that are pretty fun. Like one Discord server had like this whole Pokemon mini game that like occasionally Pokemon pop up and you can try to capture them, be the first one to get them, and then like they'd have stats and you can like build them up. It's crazy. Some people have done some crazy stuff with Discord bots. And once we get it up and running, AC wants to eventually put all the links that we put in the show into the chat. There will be its own like news channel for it.
Oh, that's nice. Hey, AC, by the way, you're an admin on that chat, on that channel, so you can do whatever the hell you want. I trust you implicitly. All right, so that's all set up, and let me put that.
So apparently, AC Wraith would need to be admin on a Facebook page so that he can sync up a social media feed with it.
I will happily do that. Thank you very much.
Oh, and Nick, if you accidentally click off of a chat with a friend, you can just go to the friends, like your friends list, click on them, and then click message, and that'll pop it back up.
I'm trying to... Can you do me a favor? Can one of you copy and paste that Discord link into the private chat? Because I can't... Oh, that's not the same link.
I mean,
okay. See under comment.
It's the link I got. It's the link that it gives me. It's probably different every time you look at it. Like different.
There's one Edie set that is forever, like going to be an active open link to click and join.
Okay, because if I go invite people, it says send a server invite link to a friend, and it gives me a link.
That's not what you're going to want to do.
That's not the link. That's not the link you want to use, because that's you sending it to a friend. I have a link that is a forever link.
Okay, so do
anybody?
Only you have that?
No, that is as an admin on the Discord server, you can create a link to put into social media or wherever for a limited amount of time or forever.
How do you find that link?
So Edie posted it.
Yeah, but don't worry about it. I mean, let's discuss this after the show and not before a show when we're already 18 minutes late for it. Just saying.
We're late today? I'm sorry.
When are we not late?
I know, that's why
Always.
that's why I'm being a little bit sarcastic about it.
I know. And that's why I gave you the big finger. All right, shall we do a show, friends?
Nah.
Yeah, you're right. And it's the new year. I think it's a good time.
I don't feel like it. I'm just gonna go play some PlayStation, some Tsushima.
Blood Reaper says also Nick
is eternally sus. It took me a moment to read that.
Sus. Okay.
Yeah.
Nick is always sus. Nick is always sus. All right, so let's start the show.
Podcasters are big fat podcasts. If you're younger than 18 or are easily offended, please stop this podcast now. Oh, and your mom says to take out the trash and do your homework.
All right, mics are hot. Hello and welcome to GameHounds. GameHounds episode 577. We are recording on January 3rd, 2021. Whole new year of new games, new news, but same old hosts, right, Nick? Right, Andrew?
Yeah.
I like to still think I'm kind of fresh, kind of new. But yes.
No.
I have been only playing new games like Demon Souls, like Spider-Man, like Ghost of Tsushima. Only new things this year. Nothing from 2020.
See? Same. I've played 7 Days to Die.
We talked
Only
about
brand new stuff. Only bleeding edge here at GameHounds.
Yeah, we are the bleeding edge. None of us have touched Cyberpunk.
Well, no, that's because that's from 2020. Fuck that shit.
It's because
we want a 2021 game.
Yeah,
it's because they took it off the PlayStation Store, Edie. What are we supposed to do?
Yeah,
that's true.
So we got AC Wraith in the chat room. We've got Blood Reaper in the chat room. Wow, Corey Wallace in the chat room. Slow day today. Everybody getting over their hangovers, their New Year's Eve hangovers. And I don't mean necessarily alcoholic, just the celebration, et cetera, et cetera. But, yep. How was your New Year's? Did you do anything fun?
I know we watched some anime for a while, like up until midnight on Andrew's time.
Oh, that's
Blood Reaper's time.
Blood Reaper's time, right? It's right. We were watching it together. We were watching anime in the Discord server. By the way, yes, again, that Discord server. There is your link for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Other than that, I worked. I mean, stop me if you heard me say that one before, but I spent most of my holiday working. But yeah, we watched pretty much just watched anime that night, and it was Rising of the Shield Hero, which we mentioned last week. What are your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Oh yeah,
it's not bad.
It. And yeah, it is lit RPG, and it's nice to know that I can at least let Nick know that it is more than what he apparently thinks it is. It's actually the story first that's based on the frame of a game with things like stats and yeah.
Yeah, but it also feels like it avoids my biggest issue with that whole genre is that, it takes place in a game, so really nothing matters.
Yeah, and it's more about just using that kind of world that game mechanics to explain your magic system in your world.
It's really more. It's less like a lit RPG story and more like a piece of like a fan fiction set in a video game, right? It's like if it's like if
Yes.
I wrote a Dragon
Yes.
Age fan fiction
Yes.
and had the characters acknowledge all of the mechanics of that game,
Yes.
that would be it.
Exactly what I'm
But-
saying.
But
Exactly.
no, because the key difference is that it's all in universe. So like when someone dies, it matters because they're dead. Whereas in a usual lit RPG, if someone dies, what the fuck? You just continue because it's a goddamn video game.
No,
And
maybe,
nothing matters.
maybe not. Maybe in many times in these lit RPG books, it's either you can respawn, but there is some horrible penalty that comes with it, or you are actually friends with NPCs, and if you die, you come back, but your NPC friends don't. And so you spend a lot of time trying to protect them. Or in some cases, if you can't die. Like if you die, you come back, but horrible things have gone on because of it. They do put the crucial need of life and death being important. If it is just like, oh, you die and you start over, then obviously that's a problem. There has to be some kind of issue with dying that doesn't keep you from just running in and doing stupid stuff.
It would have to be more than just like consequences in the game though, because otherwise I'm just like, oh well, you lost the game, whatever, go play another one.
Yes. No, I'm gonna make you. I am gonna make you read Awaken Online. I think that's the one that you want to read.
Okay. Have you heard of one called Novaterra?
Novaterra,
Only
no.
because I guess it's currently on sale on Kindle's daily deals that I usually check for like $1.50, which is an investment I'm willing to make in a lit RPG book. That's
You know what you should do? Do you have do you have Kindle Unlimited? Kindle Unlimited is the best fucking deal. Holy shit. Because that's all I do.
Okay, jeez.
I'm gonna take a second to weeb out a little bit and just go over anime real quick. Blood Reaper put in chat like the first season of Sword Art Online, which you've mentioned before.
Is very good.
Yeah, and with Sword Art Online, you didn't like the season 2 because like he could just
Also,
respawn.
It's a Rising of a Shield Hero.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
But like most of the stakes in the second season were all outside of the game. Like
and they will watch it, but they're all outside the game, but it was all like, oh no, this other guild is going to take over our territory. Let's stop them. And they treated it like this, like a genuine invasion of a country, which sure, in the context of a game, it is, but it's still like, oh, it's just another guild taking over. It's like PlanetSide when you lose territory. Like, I've played these games before, whatever, and they're treating it with these life and death stakes. They're coming into our territory. We need to stop them. Help us. And it's like, Jesus Christ, people, like, calm the fuck down. It's a video game.
Well, another example of this would be a show called Log Horizon, which is getting a new season.
Good. I love Log Horizon. Log Horizon is really good.
Yes. And finally, after years, so apparently, little tidbit, the writer and manga artist of Log Horizon, he ended up going to jail for tax evasion. And that's why it's been on hiatus.
Okay.
He's paid off his debt to society. He's went to jail, got out, he's back. And that's why they're going to continue the series now.
Wow, okay.
But in the show Log Horizon, death isn't permanent for adventurers. It is for NPCs. But for adventurers, they come back. But the mechanic for that show is that they start to lose their memories. Every time they respawn, a little bit more, there's a chance that
there's a consequence of dying. So you don't want to die. You try really effing hard not to die.
But are they stuck in the game?
Yes. So essentially,
they're stuck in the game.
So that is a quick and dirty way to like make the stakes actually matter, which I'm okay with. Like if you want stuck in the game, like there's a lot of things like that, but hey, it is a quick and easy way to make me give a shit about what happens. Because if you are not at least stuck in the game, then there has to be something really, really damn compelling going on, like outside the game.
Kind of Player
Or
Ready One.
like,
A Ready Player One is for a good
yeah,
example of
but
that.
even then, I thought Ready Player One was just,
I haven't read or seen it, so that was
Nick?
just a guess.
Go, read the first book, Awaken Online.
I'm not gonna pay
Trust-
$30.
No,
That's for all 7.
that's for all 7.
Oh,
It's $2.99 if you want to buy it, but I cannot recommend enough Kindle Unlimited. Kindle Unlimited is such a good deal. If you will notice, everything is free in
yeah.
Kindle Unlimited.
I just don't read enough to make that worth it. I've
I
already got
read
a huge
constantly.
backlog of books to
But
get
yes, just read Awaken Online Catharsis. It is really, really good.
Very
Really
cathartic.
good. And it is a perfect example of being inside the game and being outside the game, and the inside the game consequence stuff that's happening has a real life issue with what's going on outside the game in really serious ways. Like not just interpersonal, but also like global.
I know I've looked into this one before because it has a cool cover, and there's something about it that I was like, that's.
It's the cat. It's the cat.
Well, that's what made me interested initially, because it's got a
Yeah,
good
and
cover.
he has great covers. There's
But
a lot
then,
of really
like,
shitty covers.
as I looked into it more, I was like, yeah, that sounds kind of dumb.
No, it's good. It's really good, Nick. Trust me. Thank you for the link. Here's Travis Bagwell, who's the author. Really, really good. So yeah, 3-hour shows. Let's move on. Enough about anime. Let's talk about what we played. Nick.
I played and finished Spider-Man Miles Morales, which is, and okay, this, everyone gets this wrong. It's Spider-Man. He says so himself in the comics. He's like, everyone forgets the dash. Better.
Okay.
But yeah, Spider-Man Miles Morales it's the expansion. I would say it's not really the sequel to the Spider-Man on PS4. It's really more of like a standalone expansion, because it's a relatively short experience, like maybe 10 hours or so total, which does feel substantial. Like it's a really good length, because it feels long enough that you get a nice sense of progression and leveling up. The story plays itself out well. I kind of have issues with the story, but like the arc of it, to the pacing of it, is all really good. It doesn't drag anywhere. And then like you finish it, and like it's a very relatively easy game to like get 100% in, and to just go around and kind of do all the different activities. It's a manageable open world game, like in an age where Assassin's Creed Valhalla has a title screen after 8 hours. You know, as these open world games start getting bigger and bigger and just insanely like overstuffed, this is an open world game that just feels manageable. And it helps that it feels really good. Playing it, I forgot like how good of a game Spider-Man is. Like it feels so good. Everything about it, moving, fighting, just feels like butter in your hands. It's just so much fun to move through the city, and it's one of those things that like it's hard to appreciate in retrospect, because it's very easy to just forget. Like, oh yeah, that character moves really well. It's fun to run in a game. Like you don't necessarily remember that stuff, but once you get into that game and you start swinging through the city, I maybe fast traveled. People make a big deal about the fast travel in the game, because with the PlayStation 5's SSD, you can fast travel across the city in like literal seconds. I maybe fast traveled once, and the rest of the time I'm like, oh, do I have to go all the way to the other end of the city? That's fine. I'll swing there. because just the act of moving and the act of swinging,
Joyful.
it's just joyful and fun. And the combat too, there's a cool stealth element that borrows a lot from the Batman Arkham games, in that Spider-Man is always kind of crawling around above, and if you look at people, you can kind of get this heads-up display that says, okay, no one's looking at them, you can take them down. And he webs them, pulls them back up, and then you can kind of sneak around and do that to all the people. But if you get caught, then you enter combat mode. And so there's a nice, like the Arkham games, it's a nice balance between combat and stealth, where you can complete an area fully stealthily, and sometimes when you're fighting really strong enemies, you want to try that as much as possible. But when you get into combat, it feels really, really good. The act of jumping, moving, the timing for your dodges and that it gives you is just long enough that it feels challenging but doable. So, if I get my spider sense tingles because I know someone's about to hit me from behind, I have just enough time to dodge that or jump over them. And it strikes a nice balance as it increases difficulty with like enemies with rocket launchers, with machine guns, with guns that instantly reform in their hands so that you can't, like, normally you can web someone's gun, pull it out of their hands and like use it as a weapon. But some enemies in this game have like guns that will 3D print themselves on the fly. So the moment you pull it out of their hands, they just print another one, which is kind of a neat trick. But yeah. And this game revolves around Miles Morales. After the last game, it's kind of interesting because he was in the last Spider-Man game. And from what I remember, he doesn't get his powers in the last game. And this game opens with like a little recap that's just, oh yeah, during this disaster, my dad died, and so me and my mom moved to Harlem, and I got bit by a spider too, and now I have powers. And then it opens with him and Peter Parker like hanging out, chatting about how to be Spider-Man. And it's funny to kind of see a game just be like, yeah, yo, the origin story, he gets bit by a spider, fuck it, let's skip it. Which is nice because yes,
it's not insulting to your intelligence because everybody knows why Spider-Man is Spider-Man.
Yeah, and it's like I don't have to see him go through, like, this is still kind of an origin story because it's about over the course of the story, Peter Parker goes to Europe to like basically go on vacation. And so he's like, hey, you're the Spider-Man of New York now. And so it's kind of is an origin story about Miles learning to be Spider-Man and, his first Spider-Man outing on his own without the mentor of Peter Parker. But it's an origin story that doesn't revolve around learning your powers, which is just nice. My issue with the story is that a lot of it has to do, there's an evil corporation, as like all corporations are. But then there's this group called the Underground that's kind of fighting off this evil corporation. And in the beginning, I thought that the evil corporation, Roxxon, would kind of be the main villain. But it turns out you spend more time fighting the Underground, which is this kind of terrorist group. And at a certain point, it just feels a little weird. Like, okay, that Roxxon is evil and the things they're doing are bad, and yet you're still kind of focusing your efforts on stopping this terrorist group. It's like, sure, they want to do this one bad thing, but it kind of feels like this weird mixed messaging of like, hey, yeah, this evil corporation is really fucking everyone over, but let's put all of our effort into stopping people from blowing up a plaza, from like an act of vandalism. It's like, no, maybe you should stop the corporation rather than the people trying to vandalize the corporation. It seems a little weird in that regard. But it still doesn't change the fact that it is an incredibly fun game to just play, to be in. The world is great. Manhattan is great. And I actually want to go back and try to get 100% in some of the collectibles and other side mission things. And
Mhm.
it also helps that one of the things you get in this game, and I don't know if it's for free or if you have to get like the special edition, but you get a special costume that is from the Miles Morales from Into the Spider-Verse. And that movie is kind of famous for playing around with frame rates of the characters. And so when you equip this costume and it's like associated sort of perks, it changes the frame rate of your character moving through the world so that you move at a slower frame rate, so that you kind of look like this stuttery animation. And it's a really, really cool effect, especially when you put the game into 60 frames per second mode and your character is moving at like 20 frames per second. It's this really, I really like that contrast, and I really dig the stuttery, framey look of Spider-Man in that, because it kind of reminds me of stop motion animation. So that's cool. And I will say, this game, it originally shipped with 2 modes. There was a performance mode, which is like, we're going to have all of the ray tracing reflections in the windows, but it will run at 30 frames per second. Or then there's, maybe that was performance mode, but then there's like fidelity mode, which is, hey, it will run at 60 frames per second, but you won't have all the ray traced reflections. So it's like, do you want ray tracing or do you want frame rate? And switching between those, it's interesting to see the contrast, because once you see like the level of detail in the windowed reflections, especially in a game that takes place like in New York with buildings made of glass practically, it's hard to go back to the normal mode, because you can definitely see normally the reflections kind of aren't there. It's just like a blurry image with like a white light to kind of represent light bouncing off the window. But with the ray tracing on, you can actually see reflections of the street in a window, looking at a building's window from up above. And like you can see all the individual people walking around, and it's really, really impressive. And thankfully, after release, they added in a 3rd mode that's like performance RT mode, which basically gives you 60 frames per second with ray tracing, but it kind of removes other elements of the world in order to ease the processing power. So things like pedestrians. And so I spent a lot of time, not a lot of time, but I spent a while like at this one big window comparing all these different modes. And when you go from performance mode to performance RT mode, the level of pedestrians is definitely noticeable. Like the number of pedestrians is probably cut in half at least, which is not to say that New York looks empty. It definitely doesn't. There's still enough people there that it looks like a city, but it is definitely a less populated city. But I think that's kind of a good balance to make, because, you know, if the choice is between this really impressive new graphical feature or 60 frames per second, limiting some other aspects of the world seems like a good like in between way, a good middle ground to do that. And so that's what I played most of the game on, is the performance RT mode.
Okay. That's pretty cool, because I mean, that's the big selling point, is kind of ray tracing. It's the move.
Now I've got
That's
a cat right in front of me. Yeah,
little
there he is.
distracting. Okay. So, but I wanted to hop back real quick to Nice. When you were mentioning the story, right?
Yes.
So I don't know how well it's handled in the game, but I think that is a good point for like superheroes to cover, is that the terrorist group may be doing something right, like they're fighting an evil corporation, but a superhero who's walking that line of vigilante can't actively be going against the cops. Because if they go actively against the cops, they can no longer do their work. Like, they can't go out without being forcefully stopped by the cops if they're beating them up in the past.
I
Like,
guess. But Spider-Man never beat up the cops, and
But that's my point.
The
Like,
cops are also kind of not a presence in this game.
well, until the corporation does something blatantly illegal, as a vigilante, you can't really stop them until you know that there's something, like, publicly, anyways. But if a terrorist group is going to blow up a plaza, you would have to stop that to prevent injury. Like,
But-
that is an.
And I guess my issue is that the game kind of goes out of its way to. So I don't know if this is. It's not really spoilers, but like when you first learn of like, oh, what does the underground want to do? What is their big plan to like strike back against Roxxon? And it's we're gonna blow up like their plaza, which is kind of it's closed, it's under construction, and it's about to open. And it's gonna be like, oh, hey, Roxxon Plaza is like, the advent of like their new energy initiative. And so they want to blow it up as a symbol of like, hey, fuck Roxxon. But they specifically go out of their way to mention it's not open yet. It's under construction. And so when they blow it up, there's not going to be any real injury. Like they stress that over and over again until the end when it's like, oh, whoops, something else happened. And it turns out if you blow it up, it'll destroy the city. And it's like, oh, okay, come on. If it feels like it goes out of its way to be like, oh, these terrorist groups, they're not really terrorists. Like, it's just vandalism, except at the end when they're going to kill everybody. And it's like,
Well, I mean, there's an inherent problem with when you're dealing with people who aren't. You don't know how they're trained in explosives. You don't. Yeah.
I just saw. I snapped my fingers.
AC Race writes, the gray block has wiped out, newsflash, the gray block has wiped out half the population of New York City to see some pretty reflections. Where's Spider-Man when you need him?
Gone. Yeah, I wiped him out.
Yep.
It's an interesting narrative to like go into, in my opinion. Like as a story, if you make that a point of being like bringing in those characters that like the leader of the terrorist organization, giving him a good like backstory, filling that out, and kind of making that a conflict for the character, that's good. I don't know if they do that in Miles Morales, but
they certainly try because like your major liaison with the terrorist group is a major character. But I feel like in the end, they want your final battle to be like this really emotional, kind of cathartic moment of, dueling ideologies. But because they go out of the way and they kind of flip-flop so hard on like, what is this group doing? And what are the consequences of their actions? Like that's the problem, is that at first it really stresses, oh, they're going to blow up this plaza, but, no one's going to get hurt, to, oh, they're going to blow up the plaza and literally destroy the city. Because it flip-flops so hard on that, it's not able to really, at the end, when like you're fighting the final fight and it feels like it should be this emotional fight of ideologies, your opponent really just feels like an idiot because you're like, no, you're gonna destroy the city because you're a fucking idiot. And they're like, no, we're not. We need to, this is for Roxxon, fuck Roxxon. And you're just like, it wants to make them like kind of a martyr figure, but because it flip-flops so hard on their motivation, they end up just looking like an idiot instead of a martyr.
which that comes down to kind of necessarily bad writing.
Yeah, it's just execution. And I think a lot of the story is well written. It's just kind of this issue of the main antagonist's motivation and your relationship with them. And yeah. So
I'm of the mind that you should never let like people with explosives try to blow something up without proper precautions and training, and you can't really guarantee that these people know what they're doing when they blow this thing up. Clearly by the story they went overboard and they're like, it's
Sure.
going to destroy the city, but they can't guarantee that an unplanned explosion for this building is not going to cause damage and hurt to
Sure,
other people's.
and part of my issue is like when I was playing through the story and I first learned like, oh, this is, evil corporations gonna evil, basically. And from the beginning, like, okay, they're probably up to no good. And once you learn what that no good thing is, I was like, yo, Underground, let's join forces and fuck them up, right? That's what Spider-Man's gonna do. My enemy is my friend, right? And instead, it goes in the complete opposite direction, and it just feels like, what? But they're the bad guys, and I know they're the bad guys, and you know they're the bad guys. Why are we fighting each other? Like, we both want to stop Roxxon. What are we doing? What? Why? And the game just never really justifies why you spend all your time fighting the person that is also fighting the evil corporation. And it's like,
That's the problem with superheroes kind of having to maintain the status quo. Again, like, laws aren't always just, but because they ride that line of not being antagonistic to police and still being able to save people's life, they can't go against unjust laws because they will be doing something. They are doing something explicitly illegal, but they would be. They need to be stopped.
They can go against that because they do already. They're vigilantes. Their very existence represents a failure of the police force and other law enforcement agencies. Like, if all of the police of New York were doing their job perfectly, Spider-Man wouldn't have shit to do. Right?
True, but going from
they're vigilantes. Like, the whole point of Spider-Man 2 is like J. Jonah Jameson is always getting on his case, and sometimes the police go against him. The police fucking hunt Batman all the goddamn time. Like, superheroes are generally not friends with the police or with the authorities. Like, even in Iron Man, the government is like, yo, Tony Stark, give us your shit. And he's like, no, fuck you, government. Like, superheroes, I feel like, not to get like too big picture, but like a lot of superhero stories do involve them upholding the status quo, which I think is kind of problematic because, like I said, their very existence like represents a failure of the status quo, and they always exist outside of the status quo. Superheroes, by their nature, like, are these exceptional people that can change the world. And if all they do with that ability is uphold the status quo, then that's kind of a failure of their very existence. So
this is a conversation I think that could go on in depth for a while.
Yes, it could.
We are getting subtle signals that we may be spending too much time on this one topic.
The point is, the story is okay. The Spider-Man Miles Morales, the story is okay. And I have my issues with it, but the gameplay and like the world and your activities, combat, stealth, all of that is like absolutely excellent. In a way that makes me actually want to go back and play the original Spider-Man. That makes me remember just how difficult it is to make a game that feels good.
Yeah,
like it's the kind of game that's so good it makes excellent look easy. But developing a game is really hard. When you play Spider-Man, you think, "Oh, this shit is easy." Why isn't every game this good? So, yeah, that's Spider-Man Miles Morales.
Good. Great. Thank you for that, Nick.
Yes.
Any other game?
I played more Demon Souls, which is good. It's Demon Souls.
Yeah.
Demons are still evil, and they still kill me, and I kill them. It's a love-hate relationship.
No moral ambiguity. Just murder the demons.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm sure there is some moral ambiguity, but like the lore of Demon Souls is so esoteric, and like I have to watch a YouTube video to understand it. It's pretty much just like, hey, yo, there's a creature in front of me, I'm gonna stab it. So, and then me and Edie, we played some Ghost of Tsushima co-op.
Yes, we did.
Which,
yeah.
No more ambiguity there too. Like, you see a dude in front of you, you cut him the fuck down.
Yeah. Ghost of Tsushima Legends. I like it. We played survival mode. we played a couple episodes of story mode as well. There's multiple different modes. You start off with one class of character. You pick a class. You have a choice of 4, and it's the basic 4-man dynamic. You have the samurai, which is the fighter. You have the Ronin, who's the healer. You have the assassin, which is the rogue. And what's the third one? Oh, you have the hunter, which is ranged. So you pick one to start off with. It doesn't matter which one you pick, but you have to only pick one, and that's what you start playing as. And your character does level up, or I should say that particular character role levels up on its own, but really where the leveling up happens is with gear. And the gear is that 3-tier based gear where you've got the level, the abilities of the gear, and then you have an added extra stat, and all of those things can be re-rolled, which is kind of nice, but it's a random roll, kind of like they did in Division.
And you can also re-roll each one individually too.
Right.
So like if you get a cool item that's a high level, but you don't like the bonus stat, you can choose to just re-roll that one bonus stat and hope that you get something better.
Right. In addition, if you have a piece of gear that you really freaking love and you haven't found another, like, for example, one of your ghost, what do they call that? Ghost skills, ghost tools. Like I really, 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 really love the caltrops, and they're awesome. But then the caltrops I was so far above them, and I hadn't got another set of caltrops that were at my level. I just re-rolled the whole thing, and it re-rolled it at my level. I got a few extra other stats, and one of them was actually an improvement. So, it's kind of nice because your gear can grow with you in a certain sense, which you can also trade it in on new stuff. The survival mode is a bit like a combination of capture the flag and survival, typical horde modes. There's 3 locations on a map, and you have to capture those locations, and then you have to keep those locations through anywhere between 15 and, well, we played bronze level and silver level. Bronze level, you have 15 rounds of horde, 15 waves. Silver level, you had 20 waves. And of course, the waves get progressively more difficult as you go. You don't have to have a balanced team to play through survival. I mean, you could have 4 people that are all fighters, or probably bad idea to have 4 people who are all Ronin, the healers, but it's not horrible. Actually, they're having 4 dogs. 4 healers with 4 dogs would probably be pretty formidable. Everybody can fight. Everybody can assassinate. It's all part of it. It's just that the skills that you get, your superpowers, so to speak, are different, and that becomes a thing, very much a thing that can actually make or break a team. Story mode are little short chapters, very relatively short chapters. So you could run through a story mode chapter in like 20 minutes. Whereas if you want to go through one of the survival things, you're looking at 30 to 40 minutes around.
I think the story was easy when we did bronze with our over-leveled characters. So it was kind of easy.
No, we were appropriately leveled. Oh, that's the other thing, is it will tell you whether you're appropriately leveled, under-leveled, slightly under-leveled, moderately under-leveled.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you a good idea of when you should move up to silver.
And one thing I really liked about the gear is that you can just split it between your characters. So, like, I played as the Ronin class initially, and then after I leveled them up, I got to unlock a second class, the Samurai. With that Samurai class, he starts with a lot of really basic level gear. But because I had been playing a bunch with you guys already, when I could take all of that gear that I earned, give it to the samurai, and all of a sudden his key level went up to like 35. So this new character that I unlocked, I could still play with him like at the same level of difficulty as my other character. So it's not like with each character you have to start at bronze and work your way up. With every new character, you can equip them so that they are immediately able to jump into whatever highest difficulty you are comfortable playing. Which is,
Right.
I really like that because you're not constantly resetting. You're not having to constantly like go back and play the lowest levels over and over and over again. Because you have all the good gear already, you can constantly keep pushing yourself like at the hardest difficulties that you can play.
Yeah. And it was good, and generally speaking, had a great time playing with Peter in survival, and then also playing it with Nick. We ended up going to, finally when I said, "Hey Nick, what time is it?" and he's like 4, and I look at my phone. I'm like, no, it's 10 to 5. Actually, it's 4:45 in the morning." So yeah, we were up till pretty much 5 a.m. playing this.
That's a
Yeah.
good sign. That's
Yeah. Yeah, and
They-
like when I went to bed, I had to read to fall asleep because I was still feeling great.
And
Better than I had any right to feel.
I really love what it does with the story mode, because I feel like each little story chapter that you play adds in a different twist to the combat. So in the first level, you will fight some enemies that are linked together, and what that means is the 2 people playing, you have to kill these enemies like within a couple seconds of each other, because if you kill one and you don't kill the other one in time, they both come back to full health and you have to keep fighting. So it's really on you to, coordinate your attacks and your teamwork to take down both at the same time. And on bronze, that wasn't too much of an issue because, we were really over leveled. But when we tried the silver difficulty, that became a real challenge. And we actually had to coordinate, okay, this guy's at half health. Let's focus on the other guy. Okay, the other guy's almost dead. Don't kill him yet. Don't kill him yet. Get the other guy down to lower health. And that was such a really cool twist. The second level we played, which we only ever played on bronze and didn't try on silver yet because it will probably kick our ass. You enter these areas where this one demon is constantly regenerating the health of all the enemies in the area. And what that means is every time you attack them, whatever damage you do is immediately nullified. So you basically can't actually kill anyone until you kill this demon that's regenerating the health. So you kind of have to sneak through the level, kill this demon, and then you can start trying to take out the people around you. But then at the same time, you have to protect these hostages that they are around. So you can't just run in there and start killing. You have to sneak. And it's just real cool twists on the general gameplay. And I'm excited to see what all those other story missions are and how they twist things up even more.
Yeah. I want you to hurry up and stop talking so we can go play some. Just saying. Anything else? Any other games? Nick?
I played Spider-Man Miles Morales. I could talk about that.
What do you think of it? Give us your
Well,
insight.
let me weave you a tale as old as time. Have you ever heard of the story of a boy that was bitten by a spider? It started long, long ago.
Oh no!
Damn it, I hit a brace instead of post.
Well, he was bitten by a spider, and then he went to a wrestling match, but he failed to stop a criminal there. And then later his uncle died, and that made him real sad. And he decided, I'm not going to let that happen to anyone. And then years later, completely unrelated, another guy got bit by a spider and got powers. And now they're the best of friends, except now the first guy goes on vacation. Because you know what? Superheroes need vacations too, man. Come on.
They need breaks.
Yeah.
Nick, is your stream doing okay? Something's going wrong.
Actually, we haven't really had a blurry Nick at all. This has been
fantastic.
fantastic.
No, but there's something going on with his audio. I don't know what's going on. What? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to read your lips. I think he's saying, "Let's move on."
Actually,
Yes,
I think he's
I'm
saying.
very good at reading lips.
I think he's saying that. So there's a story about this terror group that's fighting against a corporation.
Oh my God! You're having some audio problems too. What are you saying? Oh yes. You know what? I'm very yes. We should move on.
Let's talk about the nature of superheroes, like the
moving on. We are moving on.
What is a hero? What makes them super?
I can ban you from the studio.
Okay.
Important question: is superhero one word or is
what?
I think he's gonna say if there's a dash.
I'm sorry. What? Okay. Are we back? Are we over it?
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's move on, please. So, Nick, you got your PlayStation back. That's what's important.
Yeah. I've had it back.
You got your Xbox back yet?
No, it should come back the day after my vacation ends.
So. Perfect.
Yeah, but hey, it's on its way back. So,
all right.
Whatever.
So, ready to hit the news, gentlemen? No, we need to talk about our games of the year.
Oh,
do you want to do that? Yeah, because that was the whole thing about. That's why I'm trying to get you to shut the fuck up. We have a whole thing to talk about with games of the year.
It's a really interesting game.
I'll go first. My favorite game of the year is Spider-Man Miles Morales, and we'll go in.
Tell me about it. What did you like so much about it?
I can't.
All right, so let's do our games of the year. So really, seriously, let's move on to our game.
Okay.
Of the year. Yes. All right. So, Nick, what's your game of the year?
Ghost of Tsushima, actually.
Really?
And it was before I played the co-op, but playing the co-op sort of solidified it in my head because, I really liked the story. I really liked the combat, and I think it does some interesting things with the combat. And one of the things I've said in the past about the game is that I really liked about it, and that you can really see in this co-op mode is that it's difficult, but it's also really fair in its difficulty. You can be surrounded by enemies that are stronger than you, but if you are good at parrying and dodging, you can still take them out. It throws a lot at you at once, but it also gives you all the right tools to take them on. And so it really feels like the better you get at it, you can take on tougher and tougher challenges. And it's good to play a game that doesn't necessarily limit its difficulty to levels, right? I'm level 10, and that means if I fight a level 15 guy, I'm just gonna get my ass kicked. But instead, it's hey, is he level 15? Well, if you're good enough, you can fight him and you can beat him. And it's a good challenge to take on. It constantly makes me want to fight harder and harder enemies to kind of push myself in that way.
Got it. Andrew, your game of the year.
All right, so I've given this a lot of thought, and I realized that I have not played a lot of fantastic games this year. I missed a lot of the really good single-player stuff. The first thing that came to mind was Devil May Cry, but that came out in March 2019. That's not a brand new game.
Yeah,
but if that's what you played this year, right?
Well, that's the question, though, right? Is it just what I played the most this year, or is it this year's game?
I always figure, what did you play this year that you liked the best, regardless of when it came out? Because, one of the games on my personal top 10 is Blasphemous, and I think that came out, in 2019.
My prepared answer.
My game of the year is going to be a game that came out in December of 2019.
That's close enough. That's not like the beginning of 2019, like
Yeah.
Devil May Cry, though.
I mean, I when I thought my top 10 is like Gears Tactics and Gears 5. Those are not 2019 games, but they're really good, and I played them this year. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at like what I played the most of when I look at my PlayStation values, and 4,000 hours.
what?
Yeah,
in what?
yeah. So,
Oh wow,
Oh,
but over all the years that I played it,
that's true. That's not just this year.
no, not this, not just this year. It was total hours, and it was 4,300 hours on Elder Scrolls Online.
damn, it's pretty good. I mean,
Yeah,
if that is the bar of which to measure, it's going to have to be Warframe. I've just put more hours in that game.
yeah. No,
than
we,
anything.
we can't do that because I'm not going to make ESO my 2020 game of the year. It's just not enough.
Okay, then my prepared answer was probably Hades, which is
Okay.
still kind of gray
yeah,
because it's been early access. But
Everyone else is putting that as like their favorite game of the year because actually it did release this year.
yes,
Officially.
and that game, while I only put like 40 or 50 hours into it, maybe like 60. I'd have to go look for precise numbers, but that was such a fun and interesting game. Like, it is a roguelike, but there's so much character, literally, like with all the characters in the game, but just the world itself is so fleshed out and kind of amazing, mixed with the art style and the combat itself. Yeah, that'd probably end up having to be my game of the year.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that the most. I was the most surprised about that game and how much I would like it.
I really want to play that, but it's just not on a platform that like I want to play it on yet.
Well, you can play it on with a controller. So if you bought it on PC, if you plug the controller in, it'd work just right away.
Yeah.
But if you're waiting to play it on like PS4 or Xbox, I'm not sure when that'll launch. I thought it was coming to Switch. I think it already did come to Switch.
Yeah, it is on Switch.
So it's a game that can easily make the console jump whenever they are ready.
God,
Yeah.
it is a beautiful game.
It is. When I initially saw it, I was kind of turned off by the graphics, and it is a good looking game when you're playing it, and it's meant to be this art style on purpose. And it feels way better than it looks to me when you're actually playing this game. The movement is so fluid, and like the dashing and all the fighting and combos, that I did not have. My initial view of it was wrong. I really enjoyed this game.
Good. All right. So my game of the year, which is actually very surprising for me because it is a PC game. And I am a console gamer. But that is how it ended up for me. But I am a wonk. I'm a history wonk, and I do love my strategy game. It is Crusader Kings 3. And yes, it came out in December 2019, but I didn't discover it until 2020. And it is not what you call super awesome to look at, super awesome to watch, but boy, is this game deep. I mean, it is so thought-provoking, and the fact that they not only added this incredibly complex system that makes sense when you do it, of playing, kings and then trying to figure out who's going to be your heir, working within established rules that allow for succession, making sure that all of your nobles are all either like you or are terrified of you enough to allow you to do shit, to make change rules so that you don't keep splitting up your country. Meanwhile, you're surrounded by other countries that are looking to take over. It is so cerebral. And then they married in the actual real people doing real things that they did in history. Things like Ivar the Boneless, things like different Pope, I forget which Pope that was in there. William the Conqueror, El Cid, numerous historical characters and then putting them in places, and then sometimes starting them in missions and having them do things that they actually did in real life. So the more I played that game, the more I really, really enjoyed it. And it is a game for long-term slow play, because you could get in that game and stay in it for weeks in the same playthrough. And heaven forbid if you actually, play Iron Man and then lose your character, because then you lose your save. So yeah, it is really, really good. And for someone that likes those kind of strategy games, I can't recommend this higher. It also plays very smoothly. It crunches a lot of numbers. I mean, it bogs down my computer. And I never thought a game that would not be highly graphical would bog down my Mac, but it does, because it's got so much number crunching going on at all times. Because it's running a huge world. So yeah, that was my game of the year. And a surprise. When I sat down and figured it out, sat down with all the games I played, I looked at all the games I played, and then I would also consider Assassin's Creed Valhalla, because I did play that in 2020, and it also released in 2020. I would have put that on the list of my game of the year, and I actually like this better. I don't say I like it better. Assassin's Creed is good, but it doesn't blow me away. It didn't come out of the wow factor isn't there. I am enjoying the fuck out of it. Don't get me wrong. I'm playing a lot of it, but it's not that holy crap, what an amazing game this is moment. I have not had that.
It doesn't have the same surprise.
Yeah, I mean, you know what you're going to get.
It's a rinse, wash, repeat in certain ways. It's just how good the story is. And the story's okay. Not doesn't lay any new groundwork for how to do stuff. I absolutely think Crusader Kings does.
Cool.
Yeah. I want to make an honorable mention. This game apparently came out in 2019, but December, just like Crusader Kings, and I didn't play it till 2020. But GTFO, I do not think this was a great game. It was okay, but it beat me, and I never was able to beat a single level of it. So it gets an honorable mention for making me sad.
Really?
And that is all. Yes,
so,
that game.
The game that kicked your ass the most in 2020?
Yes, it's not great. It's kind of like a horror thematic shooter, but never beat a single level. Fucking tried.
I remember you talking about that. I remember watching videos of this.
Yes, I got to the very end of one level with my group of 4 buddies. There's 3 buddies, including me. And it was hold out till evac arrives. And we got about halfway through, and people's guns started going dry, and we knew immediately that we were fucked. It was downhill from there. And yeah, after that, they're like, nope. And they ended up deleting the game.
Really?
Yes, we've tried 5 different stages. Well, 5 times on the 3 different stages that you've been given. And that was the closest we had ever made it on any given stage. And they were done after that.
That broke you.
So, yes. Maybe I just don't know how to play the game. But
it gets an honorable mention as the game that broke you.
Yes.
Okay.
I will come back to it in 2021, and I will beat at least 1 stage. That is my New Year's resolution. Beat 1 stage in that game.
Okay. We'll see how that holds up.
Yep. All right. So now, can we hit the news?
Yeah. Sure. There's not a whole lot of it.
No. There's not. So
yeah, first week of the new year. I guess kind of that in between week.
Yeah. Well, this is the GameHounds news, views, and commentary of the week in gaming with Gamer Edie, Nick DeNicola, and Andrew Smith. And our first item is
I'll just start up first, I guess. CD Projekt Red announced that they're going to have a free DLC coming out for Cyberpunk sometime in early 2021. When that comes out, we're not really sure. It's not supposed to be early, but
they say that. When did they say that this was going to happen? Was this prior to launch? Because I don't see them having the manpower available to do DLC when they have a broken fucking game so bad that they've been sued now 4 times. Did we talk about that? There's 4 lawsuits now.
No, we did not. But I wonder if they have a different team for the DLC than they would have someone like fixing bugs. There are teams for this stuff.
I could see that being a really bad thing for their stock price and for investor confidence when they've moved on and they're doing DLC on a game that is inherently broken to the point of where it's sunk their stock price.
Well, I mean, again, this DLC was probably planned months in advance. This stuff isn't like we're going to release the game and then suddenly start working on this. But the reason I bring it up is not just because of that, but they said how they're going to handle future DLC is they're going to have small, like, free DLCs like this one, and they're going to work on expansion packs like Witcher 3. Like, they plan to have that same extended content format that they had for Witcher 3, which was good. People loved Witcher 3 DLC.
I gotta share this with you. So I am doing a search on let's see if I can pull it up. I think this is the tab. Yeah. No. Yeah.
It's a Google tab.
It's a Google tab, right? Oh, the top searches on when you type in cyberpunk on Google are Cyberpunk 2077 breasts clipping through, genitals clipping through, penis boobs clipping, runs surprisingly well, inappropriate screenshots, and release date.
I wonder what most people are interested in. I wonder.
Why does Cyberpunk keep crashing, getting delayed, so many bugs, crashing PS5, crashing PC? Cyberpunk have genitals, come with 2 discs. When does Cyberpunk come out?
Release. Okay, that's all.
Yeah.
Release date, come out, take place. All right.
What about how does Cyberpunk?
I did. Oh. How does Cyberpunk run on PS5?
That makes sense. Okay.
Running on Stadia, I'm actually curious about because no one's mentioned Stadia. If it's all consoles and PC.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, sorry about that. You were saying I was typing in Cyberpunk 2077 lawsuits and I got all of these penis boobs and it's like okay. It's like all of the assumptive searching was just hilarious. Carry on.
It's pretty much just that whenever they get the game fixed, because I still firmly believe that they will, and it will be good, that it'll have the same DLC model that Witcher 3 had, which was Witcher 3, everyone knows, had like the 4 great expansion packs that it came out with, and every single one was stacked with content, and then just a little bit of DLC drops that they're going to come out with here and there.
Yeah. Looking for there's at least I've heard that there's 4. I know that there's at least 2 articles about lawsuits that have been filed. So there is a class action lawsuit already going on. We talked about one of them. This is a new one. Rosen Law Firm in New York has also filed suit alleging federal securities law violations. lawyers state that CD Projekt Red made false claims about the recently released video game. Specifically, developer failed to make consumers aware that Cyberpunk 2077 was virtually unplayable on last gen consoles. So they're looking to certify the class. And when they've already filed the suit, they're certifying the class. When you do a class action lawsuit, it means that you're filing for everybody that has essentially purchased the game, and you have to have your class certified as an aggrieved party by the judge in order to file class action lawsuits. So yeah. That happened, and I heard there's at least 2 more. I could be wrong, but that number is sticking in my head. So yeah, I can't believe that they are even suggesting DLC. If they have the manpower to do DLC, they have the manpower to fix the game. And there's an argument that supports the investors' lawsuits that they are just moving on and, intentionally just don't really care that they put out a shitty project and lie to everybody.
I don't think, you won't hear this from low-end developers or just like the people in the studio. I'm sure they hate that they put out this product. They hate that they had to release it here. But no one's going to be like, yeah, they just have to move on. Like, not actually move on, but they have to work. Everyone knows that they're going to be working on it. They just have to move forward with content and stuff. They're trying to get past the controversy of it.
But it's free DLC. That does not do the investors any good whatsoever. Free DLC is added value. But when you are adding value to free value to zero of the base game, zero value of the base game, then
I don't know if the base game is 0. That's a little much.
Well, it's flawed. It's horribly flawed. They need to fix the game first and then worry about the DLC. Because it is a slap in the face to all of that goodwill, those people that bought those games with the best of intention, understanding the thinking that CD Projekt Red had the best of intentions by making it run surprisingly well on last gen, and now they're moving on because clearly if it's unplayable on last gen console, then free DLC doesn't do them any good.
Yeah, but like Andrew said, this DLC, they didn't move on to this DLC. This DLC has been in the works probably for a while. Like, that's generally how the process of game development goes, right? It's like they were working on this game before the release of Cyberpunk. So it's not like anyone has really moved on.
No, but it's not whether they've moved on. It is the appearance that they have moved on.
We also don't know what this DLC is.
Of lipstick on a pig. They are putting they are spending time and resources making a top hat to put on a pile of shit.
Well, okay.
Maybe you need to clean up the shit first before you put a top hat on it.
Maybe they shouldn't have announced this at all.
Exactly.
I'm guessing they have a plan for this. But we don't know what the DLC is. It could be something relatively small. Could be like cars or just like additional cosmetic content. But also, yeah, they could have just been like...
Corey Wallace says this just in: the company changed its name to Shitty Project Red.
I don't know how internally this is working. Like, again, if this content is mostly done, it would be against their best interest to pull people off this project who are intimately familiar with it, because when they come back, say in 2 months when all the bugs are fixed, picking up that project again can be kind of hard, and you'll lose any momentum that you have on it.
Right, but you're thinking about it from an internal point of view of what's good for CD Projekt Red, forgetting that the appearance from a consumer point of view is, fuck you, next gen console people, we'll fix your shit when we're done with the PC people.
See, I can see this as
or the PlayStation 5 people. We're not here for you. We're here for those guys. It makes last gen consumers feel very much like second class citizens in this.
I could see it as like, hey, people who bought this game, you know we're working on it. Plus, we're gonna have free stuff for you in the future. We're gonna
so a day late and a dollar short for that whole segment for the majority of gamers right now. The majority of gamers by a long shot. It is insulting to them. I would if I was playing it, or if I was one of the people that had pre-ordered that game for my last gen PS5 or PS4 because I couldn't get a PS5, I would be offended. I would be mad as hell. And even if it is uncomfortable or inconvenient for CD Projekt Red, right now they are in a crisis mode. It is not about how their process is going. That's not the important thing. They have taken the goodwill that made people believe that they were delivering something that was good and crapped all over it. And if they're not going to put those last gen players ahead of their, big announcement that we're giving out free DLC to people who can play it. If you can't play it, sorry, it's coming. That's not a really good argument for them trying to restore the goodwill of the gaming public that they had prior to the release of this game.
Okay, I can see your point. Yeah.
They promised a lot of things already.
Yeah.
Knowing that they were lies. If they said to me right now, trust me, your game is coming. I promise you we're working on it and you're going to get a bunch of free stuff when we're done. I wouldn't believe them. Would you? Considering that they said that this ran surprisingly well?
I trust the developers of CD Projekt Red. I trust them more than I trust.
I don't trust the management. And they're right now inexorably connected. Because we don't even know if the developers of Project Red think this is a good idea. We only know that's what the management of Project Red says is a good idea. And we already know the management of Project Red will say anything right now. But Zakakur says that's a shit argument. Why don't you actually say that your central issue instead of making a straw man argument? Oh, thank you, Zankanatter. My argument is that if you have already damaged your reputation with the gaming public by saying something that if you didn't know was an all-out lie, you should have known was not true, making people spend their money to a point of where they had to have the games refunded by Sony of all people, then you need to address that problem first. All the rest of that is just window dressing. Free stuff does not fix the problem. Bottom line, I can't see anyone disagreeing that the problem needs to be fixed first before they move on to extra free stuff. If this was paid DLC, I might say, arguably from a investor point of view, that makes sense. But when it's free DLC, it doesn't help the investors. And when it's free DLC, it doesn't help the consumers because the consumers want the game to be fixed in the first place.
Yeah,
so that they can actually play it.
Paid would be worse because that presents an even,
at least for the consumer side.
In terms of optics, like that looks even worse.
Yeah, here we.
But what's funny is that you're describing exactly what Avengers went through. When that game came out, it was really buggy and received a lot of criticism for that. They delayed a lot of their announced DLC by several months, got the game, all the bugs worked out of like the base game as well as they could. Structural issues with loot are still there, but they got things working fine. And now they're in the process of like actually putting their monthly DLC out. So you're describing the exact process that Avengers did.
I mean,
If right.
at this point, we'll just have to see what happens with Cyberpunk. I mean, we'll see what happens after they get sued. What
Right.
happens with the class action lawsuit?
But also, what I'm describing is the problem with Cyberpunk is so much worse than Avengers. I mean, 2020 is the year where Marvel Avengers wasn't the worst game of the year.
Yeah.
Wasn't the most
I
badly
mean-
released, buggy game, badly designed game of the year. I
It
shouldn't say
nev-
it. At the time,
it
I'm
never-
sure- I've heard that,
it-
that Cyberpunk is actually really, when you get past all of the unplayability, it's a really good game.
Avengers was never going to be the worst game of the year. There are way, way worse things.
Like what? We never talked about our worst games of the year.
Oh, well, I mean, I typically don't play bad games, so
You know, me too. Usually I'm get in and I'm like, oh, that's shit, and then walk away. I don't torture myself when I don't have to.
Yeah.
next story then.
All right, moving right along. Let's see. What have we got? This is kind of it's a slow news week. It's between Christmas and New Year, so there wasn't a lot going on. But Nintendo just won a huge lawsuit in China in Japan for against a company that was doing Mario Kart themed tours with like go-karts that look like Mario Kart. So they were doing it in Tokyo. It was something called Mario Kart. And you could tour Tokyo, like, you know, like Segway tours and other kinds of tours. These guys were doing Mario Kart tours through the streets of Japan, through the streets of Tokyo. They were originally ordered to pay. Nintendo sued Mari Mobility, which is AKA Mari Car, in 2017. And there were other companies that were doing similar tours of Tokyo like this, but Marikar's was particularly bad because they actually had people dress up like Mario and Mario characters. When they were, you know, they gave them like costumes to wear while they were taking the tour. So Nintendo did see that there would be an issue with safety. They had concerns about safety with these things, especially with their name stripped all over it. So they got hit for 10 million. Was it 10 million yen? Yeah, $97,000, which was bad. Well, then Mario Kart's like, fine. So they kept doing them exactly the same way. And then they slapped an unrelated to Nintendo sign on the side of all their cars. And now the judgment was boosted to 50 million yen, which is now $484,000. So now they've essentially $500,000 against this car company in Japan that is doing Mario
But they
Kart.
had the disclaimer.
Yeah,
The disclaimer made it worse. But I thought it was kind of funny that it's like, yeah, we're not part of Nintendo. Really? 50 million.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Anybody got anything else?
Yeah. I have the free PlayStation Plus games for this month, for January. There's Man Eater, which is like kind of a fun shark attack game, like Jaws, where you play as Jaws. And then Greedfall, which is the game that you played last year or in 2018.
Yes, from Spiders.
Yes.
The game that I loved until it got to the end, and I hated the end. Oh God, I hated the end. It was so fucking lazy. Not just the way it was done, but also the fact that all of your decisions that you made up to then had absolutely zero consequence on the ending, which is kind of why you're giving a choice. You're not going to actually make that have any kind of impact. But up to that point, it was a very good game.
Yeah, so I will totally check that out for free.
And the hardest boss to fight is to get out of the tutorial area. There is, if you play it, no shame in knocking it down to easy, because you are, of course, the weakest possible person you could be with no weapons, and you're fighting a boss monster that is not easy to beat. And then you're doing it at the worst possible stage. So you don't even have really a weapon.
And then there's a third game, actually. It's the third Tomb Raider, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which is a really good adventure game.
Worth pointing out that Maneater is only available for PS5.
Who?
Maneater is only available for PS5.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Only available.
The game itself is available for PS4, but the PS Plus is only giving the PS5 version away for free.
Right.
Okay.
And this does bring up another thing that I saw early in the week that I forgot. PlayStation is offering refunds to anyone who bought Maneater last month. So if you bought Maneater for PS5 last month, they will give you a refund, and you'll be able to obviously keep the game because it's free on PlayStation Plus.
Didn't Peter say he just bought something where he bought a physical disc, though? He didn't buy them.
I think this is because there's so few games on PS5 right now that it's one that people would go out and buy, and the fact that they gave it away free, they're like, okay, this is kind of shitty. So if you bought it like in December, you can get a refund for it, from my understanding.
And to go along with that, your Xbox games with gold this month for January 2021. Little Nightmares is available all month from January 1st to the 31st. King of Fighters 13. King of Fighters 13 is January 1st through 15th. So it's the first half of the month. The second half of the month, 16th through the 31st, is Breakdown. And then the end, the month-long game from January 16th to February 15th, so mid-month to February mid-month, is Dead Rising.
I always wondered why they stagger it like that.
So I would imagine so that they always have something that's coming up that is free and new.
Yeah, something just to look forward to.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Anybody got anything else?
Yeah, I have one more thing. Star Citizen. It's a PC game that was initially announced in 2012. Started a Kickstarter, and it got more money than any Kickstarter that had ever been done at that time. Well, they're still going, and they're still in development 8 years later, much to many people's outrage, because they were promising features and progress they've never managed to meet. And they have a massive staff due to how much money they made millions of dollars on their Kickstarter for this. And this year, they have once again surpassed their Kickstarter funding, and they had made $78 million in Kickstarter for this year alone.
Oh my God.
Yes.
And are they still doing it through Kickstarter? Or is that like...
Yeah, I believe so. Crowdfunding.
Why are people still giving them money 8 years later?
They have released content, and what they have promised eventually, going to planets. The amount of immersion for this game is supposed to be groundbreaking. It's just, I don't know. I haven't played the game. I know that they are well behind what they've promised and their roadmap.
Yeah.
But last year they crowdsourced $48 million, and this year they doubled it practically.
110.
Oh no, the total amount that they've kickstarted is $340 million for this game, and they have gone through that. I think I heard in 2018 or 19 they had ran out of money, and they got their money back through Kickstarter again.
It's crazy to think of a game that cost $340 million to make, and has put out practically nothing. I mean, I know they've put out ships, and I know you can walk around your ship.
They put out a squad fighter game where you could kind of dogfight in your ship against other people.
Okay,
I'd have to look
some sort of competitive mode.
Yes, I would have to go through and like actually like look what they've come out with because they promised a lot, and I know they're nowhere near what they have like promised.
I'm just like, oh my god, because this is what we're watching now is Star Citizen, but still,
Yes.
I can't see any game being worth that amount of money.
I mean, that's how much like Destiny got put into it, the first one.
Yeah, but
That's
that
not
was
much.
also, you know,
Really?
Yeah, Destiny is one of the highest
really.
costing games. A lot of it was, I imagine, advertising.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a stupid amount of advertising, which Star
Exactly.
Citizen
There's
doesn't have.
none of it has gone into well, I mean, obviously some of it has gone into marketing, but they're marketing it all through Kickstarter. It's Kickstarter or is it GoFundMe or which platform?
I'm not sure. All of
I'm sure
them
it's a
probably.
bunch because I know they also have like direct donations.
Yeah, there's a on the web. I'm looking at a web page from Twin Finite. That goes over it, and they have a link in the article to all of their crowdfunding that they have done over the years, and you can kind of see as you go down how much they've been given.
Yeah.
I know they had a big kerfuffle like years ago because people were like, "Hey, I've donated literally like upwards of 10 grand to this game
Right.
in Kickstarter, and I would like to get it back because you haven't met your promises, and there are no protection for crowdfunding." So essentially, they were like,
Yep.
"No, fuck you. We're not giving anything back." And I know one of the problems is the head of Star Citizen. He has a good vision for the game, but as a manager, he keeps coming up with new like mechanics or new parts of the game he wants to add, and he'll put people on that project without finishing other stuff first.
It's just
Mhm.
feature
So
creep.
instead of yes, and he also has he's been on record saying that like only the top end like PC parts are where it's at. He's basically a PC snob saying like he wants the best of the best. He wants this game to be gorgeous and only top end PCs can run it. Clearly that's not the case. That wouldn't be sustainable, but he is kind
Well, I
of
mean,
that.
he has some people that are giving him $10,000 for a game. Yeah, I mean, maybe there are some. That reminds me, and I don't know if you remember this, probably back in my day when phones first came out, when the App Store first opened for the Apple iPhone, there was a app called Gold, I think it was. Yeah, I think it was called Gold. And it was an app that all you did, it was cost $10,000. And all it did was put on a gold screen on your screen. And it wasn't about what it did. It was about being so rich that you could afford to buy gold
That's so dumb.
as an app. So it's always like, yeah, you know, how rich am I? I'm baller. You know, I've got gold on my phone, the app. And yeah, he actually sold quite a few of them.
Didn't Apple like boot it off the store?
I think it eventually did boot it off the store, but yeah, that was a real thing. And maybe that's what this Star Citizen is going to be. It's going to be the game that pretty much, you know, you have to between the specs and also the amount of time that you're playing, it's really only the game for the elite. It's not whether it runs well or how good it is. It's just that you have it.
I think that that's, like I said, backed off a little, and like technology's advanced that like high end for 2012 is way different than now, and just having kind of mid-range stuff now is still really good. But
unless he keeps the feature creep and is like, well, now we need ray tracing.
Right.
Now we need even more particle effects.
He's probably making more money on it being in development than he is actually releasing the game.
I know that he basically wants it to be a sim space game, but more like not like a simulation, but like Sims, Second Life, something you're actually playing and experiencing as a life necessarily than just a game.
It's amazing that people will. There is a small segment of people who will absolutely live and die. I mean, Second Life for a very small segment of people was very much Second Life. That was their livelihood. They really made livings. It's this kind of fringe of the gaming world that isn't about whether it's good. It's about whether it speaks to them.
Yeah.
Second Life is still insanely popular. 10
Is
years
it
later.
really?
Jay still gets on it and plays
Oh,
it.
we mean 10 years, 20 years.
Oh, yeah, it's been updated. People can make actual livings off of that game from in-game content. Like, that game is popular.
I remember going on it in the early days, and it'd be like, all right, I'm here. What is this?
There are full-on, like... I don't know much about this game. It's pretty much what I know through him, but, like, strip joints and stuff where you have... like girls who will say anything on mic and they will get paid real money for this in Second Life.
That's how it was 20 years ago too.
Okay. It's still all going on.
There were a lot of sex clubs in Second Life. That was the one thing that I was game on. I'm like, oh, you can have sex. Okay. That's not really something I want to spend any time doing, but okay. Good for you. All right. So my next item is kind of an evidence of how slow things are going right now. So Major Nelson was talking to Phil Spencer, Microsoft Xbox head, and they had an interview, and of course, Larry Herb, he is Xbox Live, so it's not like it's going to be asking him riveting questions. But one of the things that Phil Spencer did say was they were talking about the shortages of the Xbox Series S and X, and Spencer said it really that they're making them as fast as they can. His quote is, "It really just comes down to physics and engineering. We're not holding them back." Spencer said, "We're building them as fast as we can. We have all assembly lines going." I was on the phone last week with Lisa Sue at AMD asking, how do we get more? So it's very much a case of they cannot get enough chips out of AMD to be able to make these consoles fast enough. And they are cranking at 100%. So any assertion that I might have made in the past about how they creating a false shortage in order to make news, I think that is wiped out from this year. I now officially don't believe in any tin hat conspiracies that they are creating the shortage. So
good. They never were.
Uh,
They want.
I think they absolutely were in the past. I don't think that they were this year.
It's always better to have stuff to sell than to not have stuff to sell.
It's always better to be the top news, so popular a product that everybody knows about it.
No.
Because then you have a longer lifespan on that thing because people will just buy it. So, and let's see, you have anything else, Nick, or are you good? I have one more.
No, I did.
Sorry.
I did look up Destiny though, and from what I can tell, it didn't have a 340 million budget. There were rumors that it cost 500 million, but one of the developers before it came out was like, no, like that's not it. And estimates pegged it close to like 140.
Okay. So my bad. I'm spreading rumors from 4 or 5 years ago. I apologize.
Well, the rumor always spreads faster than the correction.
Always source your shit. Of course, I say that when I'm like, I think there's 4 lawsuits against CD Projekt Red. I don't know.
Well,
it's like 26.
Yeah, there's 5 million.
Yeah.
I don't have any more news, but I want to go back to Star Citizen just to, like, because I didn't know what was offered, and I just want to tell everyone what is offered currently with the game, just so that's clear. There is 4 modules, and then one that tries to combine them all together. But for my guessing, there isn't quests or anything like that yet. But it's module 1 is Arena Commander, which is that dog fighting apparently in racing mode that you do with your ships and the physics-based flight model that they use, and you can play against your friends. Star Marine, which is a fast-paced battleground where players put our unique FPS gameplay through its paces. So basically, it's just kind of a gunfighting arena. Area 18, which is a planet-sized chunk of an ultra-detailed cityscape that they want to expand on and make available on other planets, because they're working on one solar system right now, but the goal was an entire galaxy. They still haven't gotten out of one solar system yet, so take that for what it is. But you can go in there and you can go shopping and like see the sights. Essentially, it's a museum, not a museum, but just a play area. And then the hangar, which is your own personal ship and like your own like house. And then there's the persistent universe, which puts all of these together, and you can kind of jump between them seamlessly. But outside of those 4 things, there's nothing else to really do. And that's all they've come out with.
Are in the game and playable now.
Yes. And that is it. That is all the game offers for 8 years of development and $340 million worth of donations.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they've actually on their website actually have it back from the campaign start to 2012 and each of their crowdfundings.
Yeah,
and
it
they were
was
in the $3 million range back there, 4 million, 4 million. Then you move forward 15 million, 16 million. Then you move forward a little bit, 30 million, 30 million. Then you move to modern day and it's 60 million. Each of these are different campaigns.
Well, at least it looks like their stretch goals ended around 65 million.
they stopped promising new shit.
Exactly.
No, that's not total. That's each round. That's each round.
That seems like
no. It's like you
this?
hit 59, and then if they get another million, it
Yeah.
goes. And then if they get another million, they promise more.
Otherwise-
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that was way back here.
So yeah, they stopped promising stuff around 65 million. So they're
there we
still
go.
trying to implement the stuff that they promised they've been able to implement with $65 million.
Back when they were raising 4 million.
Yeah. So just wanted to, since I was like not certain what they had to offer, I wanted to go back and just look and give that info out.
Yeah. All right. So my last item is this is sort of a sad story. Also, I'm not very familiar with this game, but it's a free-to-play game, so and obviously much more popular in Asia than it is here. So the Yuzu Games is a company that has done a couple of different. They did the Game of Thrones strategy game Winter is Coming. They were set to produce an upcoming Netflix adaptation of the Three Body Problem with David Benioff and D.B. Wise of Game of
Okay,
Thrones
I've heard about
showrunners.
that.
All right, yeah. So the founder of Yuzu Games, a guy named Lin Key, he died on Christmas Day after being sick in the hospital for 8 days, suffering what was described as, quote, acute symptoms of illness. Shanghai police have now revealed that he was poisoned and that the poisoner may have been a colleague. This is according to The Guardian. According to these reports, Shanghai police, the hospital determined that Lin was poisoned. The police detained a suspect already, and they're alleged that person is allegedly working at Yuzu Games. So there's no other information coming out of Shanghai police other than they said he is being detained in accordance with the law while the relevant investigative work is carried out. So it looks like, at least early on, it may have been allegedly that one of his co-workers or one of his employees at Yuzu Games poisoned him and killed him. Just remember that, Nick, next time you pop off about fucking Miles Morales.
Hey, it's an interesting game that raises interesting concerns and things about superheroes.
I get it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll keep you posted if I hear anything else about the upshot of this, but yeah, looks like he may have been murdered.
I mean, at least they have the person they suspect that did it.
Right.
Yeah.
Or yeah. Well, at least they're investigating. Hopefully their investigation will reveal the truth.
I remember hearing about this in relation to Netflix because they were making the 3 Body Problem series, but I didn't know that they were also a games studio.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's something of Angels. There's a free to play game, like I want to say Game of Angels or League of Angels that they also do. That's another free to play heavy
That
monetization.
sounds
game.
like a free to play mobile game.
Yeah, exactly.
I wonder if it's a MOBA.
Maybe you think. I think Winter is Coming is also possibly a
I think that's a free to play mobile game too.
free to play mobile game. Yeah. Released last year, 2018. Well, 2 years ago, I guess technically now. So yeah, I don't have any details on that game at all, but I would imagine it. There were so many free to play games around Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm.
Just want to throw out Corey Wallace mentioned something in chat that the people watching are. I'd be right back.
Oh gosh, somebody at the door. All right.
Yep.
Corey Wallace still wants to know if you like Miles Morales. If the story in Miles Morales is about Nick, why would it be about Nick?
Yeah, it's the story of my life.
Oh yeah, he's
Yeah.
totally the Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Forget Your Life says he's 30 hours into Phoenix Rising. Immortals Rising. He says it's quite the sleeper hit. It plays great on Switch.
It is kind of a sleeper. That game kind of came and went without too much fanfare. But I haven't heard a whole lot of negative things about it. The worst thing I've heard about it is that people don't like its sense of humor because it's kind of got a way more body, BAWDY sense of humor. Well, the gods, like Zeus and someone else, are kind of narrating your adventure, and they're constantly kind of making sex jokes throughout, which I don't think people expected based on the trailers. But it's this is a weird tone to take. But
yep. All right. So, is there anything else that we want to add on this? By the way, again, I want to let you go. I'm going to go back. We do have a Discord server now. Yay for us, finally. If you are interested in it, why am I not? I guess the comments kind of phased off of here. Can you hit me with that link, AC Wraith? Hit me with that link for there we go, the Discord server. We do have a Discord server now. There's your link for your Discord server. We would love to have you join us on Discord. We do numerous things, hanging out sometimes, chatting with each other, sometimes watching stuff together. It's not nightly, but it's certainly, at least the last week, was fairly regular. So, and then could also connect with other people in the GameHounds Nation. So feel free to join with that. Anything else?
Yeah, in the chat, Blood Reaper brought up the God of War movie and rumors surrounding that.
Yeah. Did we talk about that last week?
No, but I tried to find more information about it and I couldn't. There was no real source. There was a rumor that Gerald Butler was being considered for the role of Kratos, but I couldn't find anything that actually supported that.
Oh, good. All right. Yeah, so it might be just for let me see.
Yeah, it might be just the website, because the one website I saw also had casting stuff for his kid, for Freya, for Ares, and it was that's a little much for a movie that is still not actually in production yet.
Yeah.
As far as I know, doesn't even have a script yet. But that's a fine choice as far as rumors go.
Yeah,
You could do
I'm seeing
worse.
a bunch of people reporting on it like it's a real thing, but I don't see anyone sourcing where the information is coming out of. Yeah, I'll look for that too.
Also, in the chat, Forget Your Life says that Immortals Phoenix Rising is what Breath of the Wild should have been in his mind, with no broken weapons. So that sounds really good. Maybe I'll check that out. A better Breath of the Wild.
It looks interesting. I have to admit, like, having played something like Genshin Impact, Breath of the Wild, or not Breath of the Wild, but Phoenix Immortal Rising looks kind of interesting. Like, that could be fun. Oh, speaking of which, just quick add-on. On Epic Game Store, if you haven't already, they gave you your $10 off coupon that they give everyone on $15 more purchases. And they have several games on sale. Like, I think Immortal Phoenix Rising is currently on sale for $40. So if you want to buy that, use your $10 coupon. You can get it for half off for a relatively new game. Same with Legion. Watch Dogs Legion, for instance.
Right. So I'm looking at the Hollywood Reporter right now, an article from them about the Kratos and the God of War series, but this is from 2017. So that's
Yeah, that's
not
about
it.
the video game.
God of War game review, Hollywood Reporter, Butler.
Yeah, I already looked. I couldn't find anything.
I'm not finding anything from Hollywood Reporter, and it's really funny because the reason why I went to Hollywood Reporter is because somebody else
Yeah, they cites the Hollywood,
cites the Hollywood Reporter,
but without a link.
Yeah. As confirmed by the specialized media Hollywood Reporter, the English actor from 300 and Rockinella, Gerard Butler, under misspelled Butler, will be in charge of bringing Kratos. Yeah, I'm not finding anything in the Hollywood Reporter that says that, which is why you have to check your primary sources. Because people fucking lie and misrepresent shit. So yeah, I would call that officially a red herring.
Again, though, good choice as far as like rumors go. You could do worse.
Yep. Patreon is titled Rumor Mill. It's for getting news access, so it's early. So yeah. So anyway, anything else before we want to close out the show, gentlemen?
That is it for me.
All right. So yeah, let's close. Wait a minute. Wait for it. Let's close this out. You've been listening to GameHounds, episode 577. We did record this on January 3rd, 2021. I've been Edie Sellers. With me has been Nick DiNicola and Andrew Smith. Ways to get a hold of us is gamehounds.net is our website. Gamehounds@gmail.com is our email. We do this show live on Spreaker. That's speaker with an R, Spreaker.com, every Sunday from 2 p.m. Pacific. Starting at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. That's our audio stream. But if you want to watch us on the video stream, you can do that on Twitch, on YouTube, and on Facebook. On YouTube, we are GameHounds Vids, VIDS, as in videos. We are also on Facebook and Twitch as the GameHounds. Please feel free to join us that time, and you can actually see our smiley, happy faces as we do this show. Join us anytime. Like I said, Sundays, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. We do have a Facebook page. It is the GameHounds. We do have a Twitter. It is at GameHounds. And don't forget our Discord. I did provide. Oh, and thank you, AC Wraith, for the Patreon. We are on Patreon as the GameHounds. $1 a week, or I should say as GameHounds. $1 a month is all we ask. It helps support this video stream. Without this video stream, without you guys supporting it, we wouldn't have it. So thank you very much to you guys. And if you are one of our Patreon supporters, go to your Patreon page. Sent you a message with a link to the Discord, the private part of it. So enjoy that. Thank you so much. Have a great week. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye-bye, everyone. I just realized. I muted myself on that whole closeout.
Oh, really? Why? How?
No.
I hit the wrong button. I looked down. I'm like, oh, I was muted that whole time.
So you just went quiet and then the show ended.
No, I mean it's still we're still going on the video. Everybody in the video heard it all, but everybody in the chat room in the audio stream did not. I'm awesome.
Eating,
right.
no.
Ghost of Tsushima. Nick, Ghost of Tsushima.
Sure, I can do that for a little bit.
Andrew?
I will download it tonight for sure because I
All right.
still have to download it.
Yep.
Let me know when you're off, Edie, and I'll hop on and
If you want to go download it as soon as we are done now here, go do that.
okay, I will.
Like,
All right.
were you replaced by an exact replica, Andrew?
I was. What?
Yeah, the Men in Black came to your door and replaced you.
Yes.
Who's
We don't
at
talk
your
about
door?
that. It's fine. Pizza. It's fine.
Oh, good. Awesome. All right. Have a great night, everyone. Thank you for joining us in the chat room and everybody in the chat room except that one guy. Forget Your Life, AC Wraith, Blood Reaper. Of course, AC Wraith, thank you for being our link bitch. You are so fantastic with all the links to everything. You are on it, baby. Ryan Stevenson, thank you for being here. Corey Wallace, of course, thanks. And we will talk to you all next week. And don't forget, if you are on Ghost of Tsushima and you see Nick and me playing, feel free to hit us up on PlayStation 5. See you guys later. Bye-bye.